Hello everyone. This video will be part 3 of me discussing the falsehood of the teaching of actualize.org. One of the reasons I am continuing to talk about this is because I have been banned out of this forum. So what that means is I'm no longer really able to teach, because the people that I can really teach, they're on his forum currently. Because there are no other places I can think of in this world right now besides his forum that I can try to teach about the true God that I've realized. So this is part of why I am continuing to make this video, these kind of videos. So I just wanted to start with that. So this video, I'm just going to be talking about the obvious falsehood, as well as why his set of teachings seems so popular in the first place. Because he does have masses of people following him, like a lot more than I do, for example, right? Uh, like in terms of just sheer numbers. And there's actually a metaphysical reason for that. So that's what I kind of want to get into. So what he's really writing on is selling you this kind of gimcrack, easy spirituality, or you could say lazy spirituality, where you really don't have to do much of anything. Any like true spiritual hard work that I have done to call yourself God, right? Because he keeps telling you over and over that you're God. No matter what state of consciousness you're in, you're already it. That's his main message, right? So basically, what that means is you literally don't have to do anything at all spiritual in terms of spiritual work, such as dissolving your ego, realize more love and selflessness, empathy, this kind of stuff, which is really what's required to reach the true God. But that's not what he's teaching. I mean, he may have talked about some of that, but that's not his main message. His main message is just that you're already it. Like, you don't have to do any work to find the true God in the first place. So, you can see how this can be attractive to the masses of people, right? It's very convenient and easy kind of message that can make you feel very good about yourself, right? Because you don't have to do, you don't have to be told that you have to dissolve your ego or work on dissolving your ego. Like, this kind of messaging is a lot harder, right? Whereas if someone just told you that you're already God, especially you have this kind of like God complex, or basically a giant ego in the first place, like a narcissistic kind of ego, then this kind of message is going to be very attractive to you. And as a lot of you know, that is also the profile of a lot of his followers. They have this sort of narcissistic ego kind of profile. And so as a result, because this kind of, you could say, this kind of mind is already predominant in this world, the ego mind, someone like him can basically convince way more people than someone like me. Because, of course, if you have a teacher that tells you don't have to do anything and you're already God, whereas someone like me who tells you, actually, this is a very narrow path. You have to do a lot of work to get here. You see how that automatically makes someone like Leo way much more popular, right? So that's one main reason why his message seems to just attract masses of people. And as well that they're all trapping each other with it. Believing that they have found God, right? They're all trapping each other, thinking that their ego is God, basically. Because, like I said, the ego is still a mind. You can actually access quite a lot of different states, even within this mind, the ego mind. It's a constructed mind. So you can really trick yourself into thinking that that's God in the first place, because of how it was made when you left Kingdom Heaven. Because you had to make a different mind in the first place in order to create this dream universe. And that's what that ego mind is. And it's really cut off from true God, actually. And that's why you don't have a lot of people like me walking around. That's also why someone like me, it's harder to understand and accept in this world, be accepted in this world, is really because, like, when you created this universe, you had to reduce the light of your being to quite a sufficient degree in order to create something apart from it. So, basically he's kind of selling this kind of spirituality where, again, you don't have to do very much. Including things like people telling you that, you could realize more love, more empathy. Like, this kind of thing is harder on the ego, right? So if you're already someone who's quite selfish, which is generally the case if you have a lot of ego, then this kind of message appeals to you much more than someone like me, right? Because if you're a very selfish person already, then you don't really want to work on it. Like, this is a kind of, in the field of psychology, it's like referred to as narcissistic personality disorder. Like, this kind of character profile, where no matter how much someone tells them that they're being selfish with their life, they don't want to listen. Like, there's this kind of people around this world, right? And that's kind of what I'm gathering with Leo's group. A lot of people there, including himself, is that they refuse to listen to other people telling them that they're being self-absorbed, being narcissistic, and even harmful to other people. So this is really hard to fix, basically, because if you're someone that's aware of the narcissistic personality disorder profile, a lot of psychologists basically deem it untreatable, like the severe cases. I'm not saying all cases, but the more severe cases, it's like basically untreatable. Is the conclusion of a lot of like psychologists or clinical therapists, and that's kind of my experience with Leo and interacting with him over the years. Because I really try to be as patient as possible on his forum to try to basically shine a light on his thought system, basically. But it seems just utterly immovable with this person. And so why is that? It's really linked to just how entrenched he is in his ego in the first place, that he doesn't want to get out of. And that's a similar kind of profile with a lot of his followers as well. And so as a result, he's very cut off to someone like me. So there's not even like a close communication. Like he's not even close to someone like me, and as a result, I seem completely alien to him, right? Because his understanding is very much mostly about himself, like his own ideas of reality. He doesn't care about other people's ideas, like such as myself, of God and reality, existence. He only cares about his own versions of reality. That really is because it suits his life once again. Because to reach closer to where I am, that's going to change his life one way or another. For one, you would have to start to accept that you were not teaching the right things. And you see how if you've been teaching one thing, and now someone's telling you to teach another thing, how this can create like a poor reaction in you. Because nobody wants to admit that they're a false teacher, right? It's like almost nobody wants to do that. So for someone like him who's been teaching for years, saying that you're God, to change the curriculum, basically, that's going to be a very challenging thing to wrap his head around, basically. So that's another reason why he just conveniently kicks me out of his forum, right? And not take into account of what I'm trying to tell him. That he's really still just trapped in his ego, along with his followers, really. So by kicking someone like me out, and there may be additional in the future, like he's already kicked out a bunch of people, right? So they can just have this sort of basically false religion, is really what it is. That's what it ends up being, is a false religion with this group of people that basically suits their ego. That's really what's happening. It's very clear from my state of consciousness. But because of this group of people that still exists in this world and continues to try to spread this false message about God, I have to continue to suffer. So long as these people continue to spread false message of God in large masses, the true God does actually suffer from it, from false messengers like him. So this is something, because he's not close to me, he doesn't understand this right now. Like he doesn't understand my state, how it can change based on what's happening in this world, based on how much falsehood there is, how much suffering there is in this world. He doesn't understand any of this stuff right now. So that's why I'm telling him through these kind of videos. Yeah, and it's not really from me. Like it's not from this avatar. It really just comes from God. It comes from source. What I'm saying in these videos. Because God has a need to course correct things in this world. And that's something he simply isn't able to understand right now. He thinks that God should just accept false messengers like himself. That's kind of what I'm grasping, is that he thinks that God should just accept everything. And if that's not what God turns out to be, then that can't be true. Like, that seems to be his idea about how God should be, basically. So if I'm someone that's telling him that you're being false, then his ego automatically just wants to reject it. That's really what's happening. In a more sort of extreme case. I mean, this could happen with other spiritual teachers too, but right now it's more problematic with Leo's case. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I'm talking about mostly actualize.org. So, yeah, it's very obvious, and there's not that much I can do on my own except making these videos. My hope is that my message can shift things around towards more light, little by little. Because I don't really have much of anything else to do. Like, my job is partly to bring people to more light in this world, one way or another. And so a lot of the times, like, the focus is on teachers and groups that are the most false, basically. If you look at some of my videos, it tends to be about what's the most false in this world, basically. That tends to be what draws my attention the most. Because that's what this mind is about, in the end, is to bring people towards the truth. And so as a result of that, it has a need to correct the most false things in this world, if you understand what I'm saying. So anyways, I'm just trying to point out that the reason that he's still able to attract so many people is really because of their laziness in the first place to do hard spiritual work, right? Because dissolving the ego is hard work. Like it can be actually at times disorienting, and it can be uncomfortable to do this kind of work, and it's just not very appealing to the masses in the first place. So someone like him can just go in there and be like, well, you don't have to do anything. You're already God realized, or you don't have to do very much. Just take some drugs and then you're done, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. And you know, maybe he realizes that to some extent, but either way, I have to point this out.